Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and children over the age of 21, welcome to the Hop Nation USA podcast. I am Sam, once again, back on the program, going with my, I guess, every other week episode here.
Yeah.
At least that's the pattern I'm falling into, it seems.
And it's becoming quite the pattern.
Quite the pattern. I mean, it's been going on for like 2 months now, but, well, the audience can hear my voice. They know I'm back. They know it's going to be a good show. Not that it's not a great show when you guys are doing it without me.
I was going to say, or they can just realize that next week is going to be even better because I won't be here again.
Perfect. They're probably tuning out already. They hear Sam coming in and radio off.
Radio off. Podcast off.
We're not even on the radio. All right, so
iPhone out the window.
I'm done with this.
All electronical devices have been disposed of, so now I'll introduce my two co-hosts, as I always tend to do here. 29 episodes in, I still got to introduce you guys. So, to my right is Steve. Hello.
Hello.
What's up?
Oh, not too much. I'm just here chilling, ready for episode 29.
That's good.
The Marc-Andre Fleury episode.
It's better than not being here for episode 29.
R.I.P. Always in our hearts.
Yes.
And to my left is Adam. Adam, what is new with you?
Not too much. I'm just happy to have you back on the show.
I'm happy to be back.
All right, great.
I think we're all happy to have you back, and I think this week's episode is good for you as well.
I believe so.
It is, because this week's episode is... we are going to be trying some of my favorite styles of beer. Now, let me set this up a little bit, because this episode is going to be dedicated to everyone's favorite 90s girl group. From Britain, the Spice Girls. Because today's theme is all about spicing up your life. Right? Now, do you guys remember that hit song from the Spice Girls from the 90s, Spice Up Your Life?
No, but I can tell you what I want, what I really, really want.
So tell me what you want, what you really, really want.
Some of these beers?
Some of the beers. Because no British girl group is complete without spicy pepper beers, right? Because that's how they were able to really hit those high notes, to have that energy on stage when they performed live, right?
Somebody was just whipping peppers at them?
No.
They need peppers before the show.
Yeah, they were on the cusp of the spicy pepper beers, right? So before the show, they'd drink a lot of these beers, they'd get really drunk, they'd go out and put on a great show. And, you know, they were screaming in the microphone, but the nice thing about the Spice Girls is they had so many hits that everybody knew the songs anyhow. So it didn't matter if they were sober or drunk for the concerts. Everybody could sing along and they knew the words, and if the Spice Girls forgot them, hell, the audience knew them. So they could just, you know, hold the microphones up to the crowd and the crowd sang, and it was just, you know, a great time had by all.
An interesting fact to go along with this is that even though they were all drinking pepper beers before the show to kind of loosen up their vocal cords,
as one tends to do,
it was actually Ginger Spice who didn't like the hot pepper beers, but she liked the hot ginger beers.
Yeah.
So she was a bit of an outlier. We're not doing those beers on this show.
So is it also safe to assume that Scary Spice also enjoyed the IPAs? I don't know. That's the best I can get out of this.
Nice stretch.
It was a hell of a... This entire premise is a stretch, let's be honest.
No, we're relaying unknown facts about the Spice Girls.
So no, I did not know that.
Yeah.
And look,
a lot of people didn't know this, but we're teaching them.
Right, exactly.
Well, you're teaching me then.
And for those that did know, we're just giving them a nice reminder because, you know, nostalgia is back. I mean, we just had a new Power Rangers movie, for God's sake. So, you know, we can talk about the Spice Girls, you know, getting drunk before their concerts on spicy pepper beers. And hell, maybe on the show today, we'll actually try some of those same beers that they used to drink before the show.
Well, let's start with one.
Let's start with one.
Let's introduce us to our first then, Adam.
Yeah, what's our first Spice Up Your Life beer?
Oh, God.
And which Spice Girl would you say this beer is most associated with?
I have no idea.
You know what? Maybe let's save that for the end of the show.
Okay, we can save that for the end. Let's actually try the beers first and then try to guess which one it's associated with.
So, our first beer is coming from the beautiful state of Colorado, from the Tommyknocker brewery. They are bringing out the green chili beer. It is a lager. Comes in at 5.3% ABV.
Okay.
IBUs, nice and low, 27. Sam, for your information, the hops utilized for this beer were the Chinook, the Summit, the Sterling, and the Tettnang, which I have never seen before.
Now that's interesting because the Chinook hop is used generally in a more prominent IPA, and you get a more piney taste when that hop is used. So that's interesting that that's in that beer. I'm gonna have to see if I can pick out that flavor because, as I've mentioned on the show previously, it's one of my favorite hops.
Right. So the other aspect that obviously it's the reason why it's on the show is the chilies in it. What kind of
Well, that's
pepper?
good.
What kind of pepper do you guys think is in this beer?
I'm thinking Serrano.
Okay, Sam.
I'm just gonna say a green chili.
Well, technically, kind of. At one point or another.
No, let me go with. I'm gonna go out on a limb. I don't know for sure, but let's say a poblano pepper.
No. No. It's actually an Anaheim pepper.
Okay.
Oh,
So-
an Anaheim.
Yeah, so nothing too outrageous on this one. I think they're looking more for the flavor rather than just straight up heat on this one.
Yeah.
But let's crack this open and let's find out.
Perfect.
I would have expected an Anaheim out of a California beer, not a Colorado beer.
Yeah, there you go.
I get it because of the ducks.
Now, I tell you what, one of my absolute favorite styles of beer is the one we're drinking on the show today, pepper beer. And I will say, normally I'm about the hops, normally I'm about the spice. But I love pepper flavor in a beer, and even if it's not knock your socks off hot, I think the pepper really can add a great new element to the taste.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Anything that gets you just like a little more of a pop of a flavor. This one's not necessarily going to rely on the hops to give you that flavor, but it's going to give you that little bit of spice through the peppers.
It comes at you with a new angle,
Right.
a new story.
Right.
Absolutely.
And I like that. And what I also like is I think with this beer, it's not going to be the story. It's just going to be part of the story.
Okay, well, let's see.
So
Well, that's okay. The Spice Girls are nothing with just one member, so
that is true.
we'll start with one and go from there.
Taking a look at it, it's definitely a very light copper or a dark straw.
Yeah, I'd say light copper. It has that orangish tinge to it.
But I mean, it's a lager, so that's kind of
Right.
expected.
Yeah, it's lighter than most lagers, though. But yeah.
It is. Head is minimal at best.
Yeah,
Nothing on mine.
It's I would consider it sort of a VFW head,
right.
where it just
It's
doesn't
there and then it
exist.
goes away.
Yep.
It's incredibly clear.
Yeah, it is.
I will say for a pepper beer, and with the number of hops that they brewed with, I mean, I'm not getting a bit of sediment in here, and I can
Absolutely
almost
not.
see right through the beer.
So on the nose, you can definitely tell that there are peppers involved in the recipe.
Yeah, just a tiny hint, though.
It's there, but it's not overpowering.
No.
If you know that it's there, which if you're looking at the bottle, the label would be pretty apparent what kind of beer you're drinking here.
Right.
For me, I'm getting a lot of pepper flavor on this nose. And what's nice about that smell is that I feel that I, at least for one, would be able to pick this out without knowing that it was a pepper beer, because you're getting some of that spiciness in the nostrils, which is nice. Not overpowering, but it's there in every sniff.
Well, let's see what
Yeah.
it tastes like. Let's just drink the damn
Go for
thing.
that. That's really good.
It is.
Yeah.
It's peppery without being obnoxious.
Right, like you said, you predicted that this would not be relying on the pepper to be a hot beer, but it would just be relying on it to be part of the flavor.
I think what happened with this beer is Tommyknocker made a good lager, and then they added on top of that with
Yeah.
their chilies.
Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely has like a malty back end to it.
It does. It does. It's a little bit dry, a little bit more dry than I was anticipating, but the chilies in it are a compliment
Yeah.
rather than the headline.
Yeah, it definitely has a, like I would say classic, like kind of green chili flavor. Like anytime you're thinking of, I don't want to say cheap Mexican food, but not,
Like real Mexican food.
No, real Mexican food's a little hotter, and you usually get that green habanero,
Yeah.
yucateca.
I guess I don't know what you're going for then.
No, I'm thinking just like that classic queso green chili flavor.
I'm not following you.
I'm not either.
Okay.
But, maybe after a couple more sips, I will. I don't know. When you say queso, I immediately think of all that cheesy goodness that is immediately in my mouth.
I
When
know,
have
but there's green chilies usually in queso.
Or you,
Oh yeah, I agree.
or are
but-
you talking like the just spicy nacho cheese?
Yeah, it just has that's a green chili spice as
Why
well.
don't you just say spicy nacho cheese?
Oh my god. Knuckleheads.
Yeah, well, that's what got us there, so.
I'm just saying that it's just that classic flavor of pepper that you think. It's not a spicy jalapeno. It's not a habanero. It's just that average store-bought.
Right. So, I don't know if you guys are noticing this, but I'm getting a little bit of smokiness on the pepper side of things. It's almost a little bit like a bit of a smoked pepper in there. It could just be me.
It's not me. I'm not tasting any smokiness. I can taste the pepper for sure on the background. I'm getting a little heat in the back of my throat on every finish, but I haven't tasted any smokiness. How about you, Steve?
Nah, I'm not really getting that either.
Oh, all right.
You know, that's interesting, though, because you're comparing this beer to nacho cheese. You're saying it's, pretty much like eating a piece of firewood, and I'm just
Wait a minute,
over here
wait a
drinking
minute.
this beer,
That's a couple of steps too far.
enjoying the heat that it does bring in the back end, but subtle heat.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. I'm not getting much heat either. I'm just...
No.
It's just much more of a, like I said, an average kind of store-bought pepper flavor.
I said, the heat was subtle. It's a subtle heat for me.
I don't think that's... I think that's selling the flavor a little bit short. Just saying it's just a basic store-bought flavor.
Okay, you can say that. I don't think it is selling it short. For me, that's the perfect description for what it is.
Okay, all right, fair enough.
Yeah, I actually really like that we all have a different...
Yeah.
We're all getting a different flavor profile from this beer, which makes that really unique.
Yeah, I think what's good in general, though, is it still tastes like beer.
It does, yes.
Yeah.
It is a beer first.
Right.
And then pepper flavoring second.
Yeah.
Which is the way it should be, in my personal opinion. You're drinking a beer, you're not eating a pepper.
Right.
True.
Well, I guess we'll just continue sipping on this one and, see how we feel about it at the end of the segment here.
Right.
Yeah.
But while we do that, we should welcome Sam back.
Again.
Thank you guys for having me back on the show once again. I keep bailing on you.
Well, it's nice to have a guest once in a while.
Yeah. At this point, I'm like a glorified guest who just happened to start up this podcast with you guys.
One of the nice things about you being gone, though, is that you will go on some little beer adventures.
Right.
That is true.
And you have stories to bring back, and now you have content to share with the show.
That is true.
So it is your time to shine.
Yeah, your time to shine. Pull your weight. Adam and I went over last week our experiences at the Big Pour and Brutal Beer Fest.
So
was
now,
awesome, by the way.
So now I get to tell you guys all about my experience at the Luke Bryan concert.
No. You've done a lot better things than that.
Was it a choice between Busch and Busch Light?
Let's see. What did we have there? And I'm not gonna drag this out. I think we just went with Miller Lite. I had a couple Brew Free or Dies that I found in my fridge that I threw in the cooler before we went. But I do want to share a beer adventure with you guys that I had recently. Now, when I'm traveling for work, right, I like to dabble in the craft beer community a little bit and see some sites, visit some breweries, and do a little research for this show while I'm out and about. Because if I'm not on the show, I feel like, to Steve's point earlier, I do have to bring something back to pull my weight. So recently, I was actually in Boston for a work trip, and one of the things that I got to do on the side was take a tour of the Harpoon Brewery.
Nice.
Which... we've had Harpoon on this show.
We have.
Yep.
We like Harpoon. It's a good brewery, good people, nice craft beer, and have a nice distribution here in the Northeast. And I have to tell you guys, I took the tour, I drank some beer, and if you ever get up to Harpoon in Boston, and for any of the listeners that might be in the New England area or in particular near Boston, I would highly, highly recommend this tour. Now, I've been on a tour of a lot of breweries in my day, and at some point they tend to get a little repetitive, especially when you know all about the beer brewing process, you understand how the equipment works.
It's hard to find something new.
It's a little tedious.
Right.
It's a little bit, it's hard to find something new. So what I liked about Harpoon is they have a great, massive facility. It's in this giant warehouse. But we'll skip all the part about, where we learn about how beer is fermented and what the main ingredients in beer. Let's get to the point that I really liked, and that's drinking the beer. So let me preface this by saying that the tour was only $5.
Oh.
So normally when you take a tour of a brewery, they let you sample some of the beer, right? You guys have done that. It makes sense. They're promoting their product. Well, Harpoon did something that I have never seen ever on any brewery tour, and it was the coolest thing that I have ever been a part of. So you go on the tour, you see the facility, you learn about the beer making process, and then they take you into a private tap room, and they have about 20 different beverages on tap. And I say beverages because they probably have about 15 beers and then about 5 of their ciders, because they also brew some cider.
Right.
And they give everyone a taster class, and then they say, all right, here's what we're going to do. You have 20 minutes to try as much beer as you want.
Okay, all right.
And then it is a legitimate free-for-all for the next 20 minutes. And in your sample glass, they will pour you whatever beer you have on tap, and you get to drink as much of it as you possibly can in the next 20 minutes.
That's awesome.
I can dig that.
It was awesome. I was there with one of my coworkers, and I was like, what the hell is happening? And then immediately I ran up to the bar and was like, I'll have this. And so I tried to drink through a lot of the beer. And it, at the end of the day, it was still a work trip, so I wasn't looking to get smashed. I had to drive home at the end of this.
Well, it's 20 minutes. How much damage can you do in 20 minutes?
Well, I mean, you can put down a lot, because let me tell you, when they say that, they aren't kidding. There is a bartender staffed at those taps the whole time, and they're like, what can I get you? What can I get you? What can I get you? And they're pouring beers constantly for the next 20 minutes.
Yeah, you got to remember, you're not even in a full bar, you're in a private tap room with a tour group.
That is
right,
true.
And they limit their tours to, I believe it was 20 people, so it's a very small group.
All right.
And they let you just go at it in a private room and try all of their beer, which is a great idea because, at the end of the day, we didn't see any people, they're drinking these samples like shots. But at the same time, I mean, you're drinking them pretty quickly, making your assessment and going back to that bar because you only have 20 minutes. Plus, you paid $5 for the tour, so you got to get your money's worth.
So, of the beers that you tried during that 20-minute jam session, what was your favorite one?
So my favorite by far was a double IPA that they had called the Hoppy Adventure. And it was citrusy, it was piney. I believe that Chinook was one of the hops that they used in it.
Of course it was.
It is everything that you hate about IPAs.
All right.
So for me, it was perfect. It was one of the best beers that I had out there. It was a really cool beer. But one thing that I do want to call out about Harpoon is I was thoroughly impressed with their ciders. Now, I don't know if you guys have ever had any of their ciders.
I have not.
Before, but I'm trying
to think if I
incredibly
had.
impressed. They were good, and I'm sure we've all had Woodchuck, Angry Orchard, those real shitty ciders that are so sweet they feel like you're rotting your teeth from the first sip. Mm-hmm. But these ciders, I mean, they had sweetness to them, but they also was, I don't know, there was more to that. They were dry and they were flavorful, more like Arsenal.
Okay.
If you've ever had Arsenal ciders down in Lawrenceville. Really good. And I was thoroughly impressed. I didn't think I would like them as much as I did. So if you ever get a chance to go to Boston, definitely check this out. Harpoon Brewery, great, and hands down, you got to do the tour. The brewery in itself is neat to see,
right?
But the tour is where it's at, and for $5, just to go for the free for all is well worth it.
Gotcha.
So yeah, I did that. And then another beer adventure, a little more local. I got to give some props to a new brewery that I went to recently, 11th Hour.
I saw that on the Instagram.
Yep, had the opportunity to go down there on Saturday. Janie and I went down with some friends, and we had a nice little beer tasting down there. We tried I think they had 5 different beers that they were currently brewing. And
what was the initial impressions?
Not bad. The beer was good. I liked it. One of the interesting things about it was, though, every beer that they had, it was just part of this beta series that they called it, and none of the beer had a name. Like normally you go and people are naming their beers. This was just beta series IPA, beta series American Pale Ale, beta series Oatmeal Stout.
So it sounds like maybe they're auditioning their house standards.
Maybe.
Yeah.
With that, yeah. Because, I mean, we've had their beer at a beer fest before.
Right.
Yeah.
They were at the Big Pour.
Okay.
And they had a very good couple of beers there. I'm pretty sure the guys pouring the beers were kind of doing a 1-for-1, because by the end of the night, they had nothing but smiles on their faces.
Nice.
One for you, one for me. One for you, one for me.
Yeah, the beer was not bad, but one of the things that I really liked, I mean, the establishment is awesome. They have done a phenomenal job fixing up, I think it was just like an old warehouse, and it looks gorgeous down there. I mean, they've put in some really great equipment in their brew house, and then they also have just a gigantic bar, great vibe. They have going on down there. Beer is good. I think, like I said, they're still trying to find their footing when it comes to the beer to determine what their clientele is going to like. But very, very nice establishment. It looks great and it has a great vibe to it. So I'm really excited to get back down there and try some more beer when they start brewing some different things.
Do they do food there, or are they another food truck establishment?
Another food truck establishment. They don't have a kitchen down there, but that's okay.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly,
I was just wondering.
The nice thing about their facility is they have room to put one in. If they really wanted to go big and blow it up someday, they could put a kitchen down there. I think they have the space, but they don't have any of the equipment. So
Gotcha.
That's good.
So we'll see. But yeah, so some cool places that I've visited recently and had some beer adventures, which I really enjoyed.
That sounds to me like I need to make a trip down there.
Yeah, I've been meaning to.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
Been meaning to go there, and Fury, and...
Yeah. Fury was fantastic at the Big Pour. We talked about that last week.
Yeah, we talked about it last week.
Yeah. So, let's get back to the beer we got right in front of us.
Okay.
The Tommyknocker Green Chili.
I'm out.
Well...
I need to get a little more.
Get a little more.
It is a green chili lager. I should emphasize that. Sam, what do you think?
Man, I am just going to keep talking all through this segment here. I am on such
You got
a
to
roll.
put that time back in.
Yeah, I really do. I mean,
You gotta earn it.
yeah, you never know when I'm going to be back on the show, so the audience
Right.
has to
Get
really
your
get
time
their
in
fill
now.
of my voice right now.
I'm assuming Columbus Day.
Yeah. So here's my assessment on this beer, and I'll preface it by saying that lager is generally a basic lager like this is generally not my favorite style. But one of the things that I like about this beer is that we mentioned it earlier when we first sampled it, is that Tommyknocker has done a really nice job defining their recipe for a lager and building that first. And then they took that and added some chili peppers and said, all right, now that we've got our base down, we can improve upon this. We can have a little variation with this beer. And I think that's, with the addition of these chilies, kind of how they made it. So factually, I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what it seems like to me. So that opinion carries about as much weight as the Spice Girls getting drunk on pepper beers before their shows. So it's probably true, but at the end of the day, we can't verify that. But I like this beer. You know, it's smooth on the front end, and on the back end, it provides a nice, subtle pepper flavor that makes it go down really nice. And you know, one of the things about pepper beers that we see sometimes is sometimes they're very hot. Sometimes they have a very pronounced flavor, which is usually good for one beer, but at the same time, you may not be having 2, 3, 4 of them. You might switch to something that's a little more tame. This beer, I could see myself having 2, 3 of,
Right. Same here.
and not having any problems with that. So overall, I'm a fan. I like this beer.
Right on.
What about you guys? What do you think?
Steve, what do you got on here?
Pretty much everything that Sam said, I'm in agreement with. It's a really good, well-made lager recipe. From what I can tell, you can still taste that it's beer. You can still taste that it has that maltiness to it. I know I've kind of maybe gave people the wrong impression by saying it has that store-bought chili flavor about it. I just want to go on record and say it's a lot more fresher than buying like Great Value queso.
Great Value queso
In the white box.
Oh boy.
I just feel like the pepper flavor though is, you know, like Sam said, it's not overpowering, and it's to the point that you could have 2 or 3 or 4 of these beers, and I feel like this is a general populous pepper beer.
This is a chili flavored beer, not a hot chili beer.
Right.
Right. It's no habanero sculpin from Ballast
Yeah, no.
Point.
And when I say that, I mean that as a compliment.
Right.
It's
Oh,
got
yeah,
the flavor
absolutely.
down.
It's just a good thing to point out that this is for everybody. This is not the habanero sculpin, which is a dicey move for some people.
Right. That's a dare beer.
You're right.
Dare you to drink this.
Right.
Yeah. This is not that beer.
No.
So all in all, I think we all enjoyed this one.
I think so too.
Yeah, it was good. I'm very excited to see what's coming next. You know, we're 1 for 1, I would say. All of us enjoyed this beer, but you know, we'll see where that ranks among, you know, the other Spice Girls of the pepper beer world, right? Because, you know, we all want to continue to spice up your life. You can't just be satisfied with a certain spice level. You got to keep spicing it up. And that's what we're going to do when we come back for segment 2. So stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back, Hop Nation. Sam on the mic again. Continuing my, well, actually, I should say carrying over from segment 1. I continue to talk, continue to make my presence felt on this episode, but I have a question for my 2 co-hosts here.
Ask away.
No, that's not the question or the answer or whatever the hell you just said.
It could be the answer.
Could be. The question was, how spicy is your life right now on a scale of 1 to 36?
Wait, are we playing roulette?
No, I just thought of 36 because that's Jerome Bettis' number, and I like him as a football player. Still excited from the Steelers' victory this past Sunday.
Why wouldn't you go with 29?
Answer the question, Adam.
Yeah, because Bettis wasn't 29.
I mean, are we playing an American wheel or a European wheel here?
American. We're trying American craft beer.
Well, I need to know if there's 1 green zero
just
or
answer
2
the
green
question.
zeros.
How spicy is your life? You're delaying, which makes me assume that it's not that spicy.
It's
which
really
is not
not
good.
because
One day, people, we will take an improv class and learn how to do this kind of shit correctly.
that is true. Today is not that day.
No.
I guess
How
not.
spicy is your life, Adam? Jesus Christ.
You just get to pick a number between 1 and 36.
Let's go with 16.
Okay, now how spicy is your life?
27 with a 0.6 repeating.
Excellent.
Of
All right,
course.
so Steve is spicier than Adam. I am 36, so I'm at the absolute top of the scale. And why I wanted to...
Fuego.
I'm in Fuego, as you can tell. I mean, if anybody was listening to segment 1 and now they're in segment 2, they know that I'm in Fuego today. But why I wanted to ask that question is because I wanted to see where this next beer also falls on that scale. So our theme for today is Spice Up Your Life beers in honor of the 90s girl group, the Spice Girls. So for our next beer, we are going to be going back to an old favorite. And by old favorite, I mean the brewery, our friends at Flying Dog from Frederick, Maryland. And we are going to be trying another beer on the show from their Heat series. And this one fits very well with the theme of today's show. It is a chocolate habanero stout.
Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, I'm excited.
Yeah, so it's going to be a little darker, and habanero peppers, as we know, are quite spicy, so we'll see how this one compares in terms of the heat level to the Tommyknocker green chili beer that we had earlier.
Those are literally 3 of my favorite words. Chocolate, habanero, and stout.
In that order? I don't know. I don't know your
Toss-up.
life.
It's toss-up, depends.
All right.
Now, one of the things that I like about this series of beer is they pretty much tell you nothing about the beer itself. So we know there's chocolate in here.
Right.
We know there's habanero. We don't know the IBUs. We don't know the ABV. But one thing I will say is...
Wait, we do know the ABV.
Oh, that's true. Oh, that is on here. I apologize. That was my mistake.
It's always there.
I was so excited for this next point that I didn't even read the ABV, which is 6.3.
There it is.
But Flying Dog on these beers has their heat scale.
Oh yes, the indeterminate thermometer.
Right, exactly. Only for Flying Dog.
It's
And this
arbitrarily here.
it is, and this one is 3/4 of the way up.
Oh.
So I mean, we're getting up there, guys. We're almost to the top of the scale, and that makes sense because we're drinking a beer made with habanero peppers.
I believe the last one we had on the show was at the top of the scale, though.
It was that experimental IPA.
Yeah.
We didn't even know what the hell was in there. It didn't even tell you what peppers it was brewed with.
No.
It just said with the hottest peppers they could find. So.
All the way hot.
Yeah, all the way hot.
All the way.
So this one is not, I guess, quite as hot as that, but it's still 3/4 of the way up. And
Would you say it's at a 27?
It's at a 27.6 repeating.
Well, it's not with the experimental IPA or myself because we're at a 36.
Well, if it's
so
at 3/4 up the scale, 3/4 of the scale, 36 is 27.
You're exactly right. So it's pretty much on par with Steve.
So this is Steve's beer.
Could be.
This is Steve in a bottle, right?
I mean,
here.
you see how this is all working out here. So let's open this bad boy up and see how spicy this makes our lives.
Let's see what Steve's beer tastes like.
Or
This
is that
beer
saying?
that is much darker than the previous beer. Duh, because it's a stout.
Yeah, it's
But you know what? It's not as dark of a stout as I would have expected it to be. The light is penetrating this beer.
Yeah, you can definitely see through it. It has a nice red hue about it.
So yes, it does definitely have a reddish tint to it. It is not an abyss stout.
Right. Yeah.
It is-
I can look through it. I can see my fingers on the other side.
Right. You're not looking into the nothingness, and it's looking back at you.
Right.
A lot of clarity, little head retention. I mean, it looks good to me. It looks like a stout.
The smell is very intriguing.
I'm not getting a lot of the habanero peppers on it, but
I'm getting
I'm smelling a lot of the chocolate.
Same here.
Yeah, I'm
Same
definitely
here.
smelling a chocolate stout Similar to, kind of reminding me of the one that we did on episode 4, the Nitro.
Oh, from Breckenridge.
Yeah, the Breckenridge Nitro.
Yeah.
That was the Irish one.
Yeah.
The Irish Stout.
Yeah, the Irish Stout.
Yeah.
But I'm definitely smelling some of that chocolate stout note.
It's there. This is not on Nitro, though, for the record.
No, just bottles.
I'm not getting it.
I'm getting it a little bit on the back end, but what's interesting is that I'm tasting much more of the chocolate, a lot more of the malt. I'm actually getting less heat on this beer than the green chili beer from Tommyknocker.
In terms of flavor, there's definitely a more pronounced flavor on the Tommyknocker. This one, I can try and find a little bit of heat on this, where it's got, you know, that little tingle in the back of the throat. I can kind of find it, but it is not prevalent whatsoever.
I'm going to say this is not representative of Steve, and this is not Steve beer.
This is not Steve beer?
No.
Okay.
Like you guys are saying, you're not finding much of the Habanero, and neither am I.
No. No, it's almost like they just sort of walked it past the Habanero pepper.
They showed it pictures. I don't know. It's got a good flavor profile overall.
See, that's the thing, because there's two separate things I think we need to look at here.
Yeah.
The goodness of it as a pepper beer and the goodness overall.
Right.
Overall, it's a good beer,
Yeah.
I like
Overall,
the
it's a good
beer.
beer. I'd definitely drink this.
but it is not a pepper beer.
No.
That's interesting. Especially from the other beers. I mean, this is probably, I want to say, the 8th, 9th, maybe even 10th beer that I've had from this particular series from Flying Dog. And of everything that I've tried, this beer probably has the least amount of pepper flavor. At least from the ones I've had, which has been quite a few at this point.
I don't think I've had as many as you, but I would agree with that statement.
Yeah, I'm not finding anything here.
No, I'm really not. It as a stout though, it's pretty decent.
Yeah.
Like it has a nice thick mouthfeel to it, and it has that chocolate maltiness.
Yeah.
It's smooth, too.
Overall-
It goes down very easily.
Yeah, it's a very smooth beer.
It's a good beer.
Yeah,
It's just not in the right category right now.
yeah. I don't think they needed to tell people that it was a habanero.
If they
beer.
just told people it was a chocolate stout, you'd have been perfectly fine.
Right.
Yeah, really. Interesting. Well, who knows? Maybe as we continue to sip on it, we'll start to get a little more flavor from it.
Perhaps maybe there are some other beers we could take a look at. Steve, I understand that you did a little bit of research on this.
Well, yeah, because I knew the beers that we were going to have on this show this week weren't necessarily going to be the hottest beers.
Correct.
And I know beers that we've had in the past weren't necessarily the hottest either. In fact, I think probably the most common marketplace beer that we had that's considered one of the hottest is the Ballast Point Habanero Sculpin.
Right.
And that's a pretty hot beer.
It is.
It really is.
It's hot enough to the point where you don't necessarily register it as an IPA. You just register it as a hot beer.
Yeah, and that's coming from you.
Right.
Like it blocked out the IPA-ness of it.
It did. And truth be known, it is one of 2 IPAs I currently have in my fridge right now.
Nice. Good to know that we turned you on that one.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
that
Great
one
beer.
that one has made the list as an IPA that I enjoy. So the list is up to like 3 now.
Very good. But yeah, I did some research into finding what might be like kind of the hottest pepper beers out there.
Yeah.
Just because I think we all know the Habanero Sculpin, and there's a bunch of other pepper beers that we know. The Flying Dog Heat series is out there.
Which we are currently drinking.
Right, and we've had a number of those before, and we had the Ale Satan from Full Pint.
That was good.
That was
really
That was a
good.
good one, and that one had a bit spice too. Even though it was brewed with scorpion peppers, it wasn't as hot
Right.
as the Habanero Sculpin.
To me, it kind of went in the same vein as the Tommyknocker we had earlier, where it was good beer, and then it was built off of that.
So I looked into some of these other contenders. These are beers I haven't had,
Gotcha.
but I want to have them because I want to find the hottest beer.
Okay.
So one of the first ones I come across was called the Ghost Scorpion Lager.
Ghost Scorpion Lager. That. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I like the sounds of that.
I have
Yeah.
an idea what's going into this beer.
You have an idea what's going into it, you're probably right. And it's actually coming from a brewery you and I know, Sam. The Elevator Brewing Company out of Columbus.
Really? We've actually been to the Elevator Brewing Company.
Right.
I think we went on prom night.
Yeah, we went on prom night.
What?
That's another story for another podcast, but we've been there, we visited.
We might have even told it before, but
Yeah, I think we may have.
yeah.
Interesting. I wouldn't have guessed that.
Yeah, neither would I, but I was pretty, excited to see that, and that it's so close because I might be able to find it.
We'll have to talk to Steph to see if we know that it's out
yeah.
there. Maybe she can get it for us.
Yeah, she can either bring it back or maybe I can find it at Vintage. One of the two.
Right.
Hopefully.
It is out there somewhere.
Yeah, but as I said, it's Ghost Scorpion Lager, so it's a lager beer, obviously. Right. And if you can guess the peppers from the name, it's brewed with both ghost peppers and scorpion peppers.
That's where I was going with that.
Right. I'm just saying, I'm giving the audience, they may not know.
Yes.
And I think it's good for the audience to have an idea of how hot the peppers are.
How hot are they?
Really, really damn hot. Now, I'm sure people have heard about, like the Scoville unit scale. Mm-hmm. What we're drinking right now is the Habanero.
Right.
Habanero is usually clocking at about 300,000, and the scale keeps going up and up. Ghost peppers can go up to 1 million, I believe.
Oh.
Yes. And scorpion peppers can go up to 1.5.
Ah.
So with the ghost scorpion lager, they're taking 2 peppers that are hotter,
right,
way, way hotter than the Habanero, and putting it in. And I'm interested in trying that one.
Huh.
Yeah.
I would like to try that as well. Now I wonder if that's safe to drink.
Yeah.
I bet it is.
Yeah.
I bet it is.
It would have to be.
It has to be, because another beer I want to try is one you've actually had, Sam.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The Carolina Reaper Peach IPA from Flying Dog.
From Flying Dog, part of their Heat series.
Which is from a previous Heat series, I believe.
Now, I've had that beer, and it is absolutely fantastic.
Does it actually bring the heat?
It brings heat, and it brings a lot of flavor, but it is so balanced between the spiciness of the pepper and the sweetness of the peach that it's just a perfect complement of flavors in your mouth. Now, I will say, it's not nearly as hot as the Habanero Sculpin.
Really?
No.
Wow.
So, okay.
But it's way spicier than, obviously, this. And of any beer that I've had in the Flying Dog Heat series, it is the spiciest.
Okay, so it's the spiciest in the Heat series.
But it's not as hot as the Habanero Sculpin.
So it's interesting that you say it's not as hot as the Habanero Sculpin. I kind of stumbled upon this beer and watching a beer review on YouTube, and it was with a British man.
Just a British man.
It was a British man.
So he's probably friends with the Spice Girls, so his life has got to be real friggin' spicy.
It's got to be real spicy. But he could barely take this beer.
Wow.
Like, he started sweating, and he called it the hottest thing he ever drank.
Really?
Yeah, and that's but because he's British, I did kind of like
you gotta adjust the scale.
Right, you gotta weight that, and like those really, really white people can't handle spicy food. So.
And I feel too with pepper beers, the flavor that you're going to get based on the batch could vary depending on the peppers themselves.
It really
we all
could.
know the heat level in those peppers can vary. Now,
Right.
Sure, a Carolina Reaper is probably always consistently going to be hotter than a habanero, jalapeno, things like that. Always. But, from batch to batch, let's say your recipe calls for 3, depending on the spiciness of the pepper, it may not always provide that same level of flavor. Either that, or I just really like spicy foods and I can handle it a lot better.
Yeah. I mean, and one of the reasons why I picked this beer out was because it's brewed with the Carolina Reaper, which is one of the hottest peppers in the world. And it comes in, like I mentioned, the Scorpion is about 1.5.
Mm-hmm.
The Carolina Reaper measures between 1.5 up to 2 million.
2 million?
On the Scoville unit scale.
God.
Yeah. So it's a bit hotter. It was the hottest for a while, but
it is no longer.
No longer.
It is no longer. We'll get to that.
We'll get to that.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned Vintage earlier, which is a bottle shop out near Youngstown, Ohio-ish area.
Boardman, Ohio.
Well, actually, Boardman, Ohio. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
it's not
Boardman.
quite to Youngstown, but that's actually where I found the Carolina Reaper pepper beer from Flying Dog. They get a lot more Flying Dog beers there than we do here in Pittsburgh.
They get a lot more everything than we do.
True.
Well, they are kind of a go-to place.
Yeah, they really are.
We can have an entire episode about them.
And we might in the future. I'm not going to rule
Maybe
that
we should
out.
do it there.
Perhaps we should do it there.
But another beer that really, actually 2 beers. They're 2 beers because they come in a series, but they really stuck out to me, and they may or may not be the hottest, but they're definitely ones I want to try. It's called Stone's Crime and Punishment.
I've heard of that one.
Never heard of that.
So, okay. You're going to like what you hear then, Sam.
I'm sure that I will. It's only getting better.
We're talking 2 bourbon barrel aged Lucky Bastards and a Double Bastard. So it's a 2-part series, Crime and Punishment.
Okay.
So they take their Lucky Bastard and they age it in a bourbon barrel.
Okay.
And they take their Double Bastard and age it in a bourbon barrel.
I've never had the Lucky Bastard. Just for my clarification, as well as the audience, what is the Lucky Bastard? I've never had that.
Okay, so the Lucky Bastard is Stone's strong ale. It's not their standard IPA.
Okay.
They brewed a strong ale.
Okay.
But these are both aged in bourbon barrels and put in a whole bunch of different hot peppers in. But the number 1 on that list is the scorpion peppers.
Okay.
As well.
So we're back to the scorpion.
Yeah, it's a big list of hot peppers, and they're all just kind of put in there while it's aged in bourbon barrels. And you get these 2 special beers out of Stone.
I like that.
Those sound really good. And
That sounds awesome.
They could be really hot. And then probably my favorite, just because of the name, was the Twisted Pine Brewing Ghostface Killer.
Ghostface Killer.
Ghostface Killer. That seems like they should not be able to call a beer that. You think that would be trademarked by the Wu-Tang Clan, wouldn't it?
You would think. But
Or is it brewed in collaboration with the Ghostface Killer?
it might be. I didn't do enough research on that one. I just saw the name, and it sounded really good to me.
Nice.
It might have been brewed in collaboration with Ghostface Killer. So.
Perhaps he had to diversify his portfolio.
From rapper to brewer. But he... now I'm saying he. No, the beer it's a wheat ale. And then, again, it has
a spicy wheat.
A spicy wheat, yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've ever had a spicy wheat before.
Not that I can think of either. But again, it comes in with a list of peppers and brewed with it. And then, of course, at the top of that list is ghost pepper that we talked about before already.
It's in the name, so that would make sense.
So all of these may or may not be the hottest beer, but I found there's a young entrepreneur out there.
I like that.
And he's looking to brew the hottest beer, and it's supposedly coming in October, although I checked the website and it says November.
Oh boy.
The article I read said it was coming in October, but from a entrepreneur by the name of Jeff Pickett, and he got his start in doing just making like flavor packets for beer.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, it's kind of like throwing in Kool-Aid or Mio into your beer to give it,
Bleh.
Hold on a second. A flavor packet for a beer. Real brewers don't brew with shit like that, do they? I've never even heard of that.
No. It's for individual use.
Right. So you'll draft your beer and then you throw in like a little packet of blueberry.
Oh,
yeah.
I thought it meant in the home brewing process.
No.
Okay.
No, it's for yourself. It's for home consumption use.
Oh, God. That doesn't sound good at all. But yeah, I haven't tried it, so I guess I can't judge too hard.
You know, for you would just brew it properly.
Right, exactly.
This is for like a consumer, who wants to just kind of play around with their own beer without getting into the brewing process.
I gotcha.
Like
okay.
Right. Hey, would this be a good strawberry? Would this be good with blueberries?
Exactly.
Would this be good with peppers?
Yeah. Can I make this old style a little better with raspberry flavor? But he's decided to move into actual brewing, away from his flavor packet business, I guess.
Okay.
And he's developing a beer called the Brutality.
That's a good name.
Yes. I'm not sure if he's going to get it off, though, because I did find another beer called the Brutality by Midnight Sun, and it's a espresso beer. But his take on the Brutality is going to be a triple IPA brewed with Carolina Reaper peppers. And he intends on making it the hottest beer possible.
Well, he better do it quick.
He better do it quick, and I hope he realizes he has to change the recipe.
He does, because the Carolina Reaper is no longer the world's hottest pepper.
No, it isn't.
It has now been displaced by the same gentleman that developed the Carolina Reaper. He is the owner and proprietor of Pucker Butt, which I think is a fantastic company name.
Well, for hot sauce,
for him, it makes complete sense.
For hot sauce, it is. For
Pucker Butt hot sauce.
Pucker Butt.
Other things, maybe not so much.
Right. So they have, because the backstory is the Carolina Reaper had been displaced as the world's hottest pepper by a group of growers in England, I believe it was.
Yeah, it was.
I don't remember the name of their pepper, but...
Doesn't matter anymore.
Doesn't matter anymore because the boys at Pucker Butt got back in the lab and they went one step further.
Well, did they get back in the lab? Or
They already had it in their back
Yeah,
pocket.
he already had that, and he said, I'll release it if somebody ever beats the Reaper.
Right.
And somebody did, and so he's now released this new monstrosity.
Yes.
Oh my god. I feel like that's not even safe to consume.
Well, do you want to take a guess on where this lies on the Scoville unit scale?
I don't know, 3 million.
You got it, buddy.
There it is. There it is.
Somewhere in...
It can get up into the 3 million.
That's absolutely absurd.
I'm pretty sure this is getting into bear mace.
Yeah, bear makes that guy.
That's like 8 times hotter than the habanero.
Yeah.
Yeah. So here's the weird thing. You know how most of the really, really hot peppers are red? This one is actually a yellowish green, which I found to be very interesting.
Yeah. It
Wonder
looks,
why.
Yeah, it looks closer to almost like a banana pepper.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good way of describing the color.
Yeah.
Maybe it got so hot it burnt the red off of its skin.
Came all the way back around.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you gotta eventually make that loop, right?
So whoever this fella is has got to get a hold of the people over at Puckerbutt,
Yeah.
and they got to get a hold of this Pepper X.
Yeah, Jeff Pickett.
Yes.
You better start asking for Pepper X.
So, and also,
I already asked for it.
Right, you did.
I already asked for Pepper X. They didn't let me have it, so maybe Jeff can have a better go at it.
So, Pepper X is just the working name for the pepper right now. They haven't even fully confirmed what the name of this pepper is. It's just Pepper X right now,
Yeah.
which I like.
Right now,
That's fine.
Yeah, and the only consumable way you can have it at the moment is if for anybody who's a fan of the YouTube show Hot Ones with Sean Evans. I don't know if you've ever seen this, Sam.
no, I've
If
never
you
seen
haven't,
it.
you should. It's a
I
fantastic
should check it out.
web
That
series.
sounds like it would
It's a
be
good
something
show. I think
that
you
I
would
would
like
enjoy.
it.
Yeah.
But what it is just this guy Sean Evans. He eats hot wings with a celebrity guest, and the wings go up from just kind of sriracha, not really hot,
No big deal.
all the way up to these insane hot sauce flavors. And they developed one specially for the show using Pepper X, and it's called the Last Dab. And because they dab a little bit of that hot sauce on the last wing.
God.
Yeah.
I mean, I like spicy foods and I enjoy hot wings, but man, there is everybody has a limit, you know?
Right.
You get to that point where it's just not good anymore and
Yes.
you don't want to eat it. It doesn't matter how hungry you are or how much you just love chicken wings, you don't want it.
Right. So I mean, that's the only way you can find it, but maybe Jeff will have a better chance brewing his beer.
So, what do you say that we get back to this beer that we got right in front of us?
I say that's a good idea.
The Flying Dog Chocolate Habanero Stout, part of the Heat series. Sam, you brought this beer to the table. You get first crack at it.
Alrighty. So here's the thing. As I sip this beer through segment 2, I really enjoy it. It is clean, it is smooth, it has a nice flavor, and I love Flying Dog beers. I think they're all brewed with a lot of care and dedication to the craft, which is something that I can certainly respect. And I love the Heat series because I love pepper beers. However, I'll put the caveat on that we all know what's coming.
Yeah.
And that is it's not spicy enough. It needs to be spicier. It's a great beer. If they gave this to me and said, "Hey, this is a chocolate stout," I would believe them and I would drink it and I would enjoy it. But they're giving this to me and they're saying, "Hey, it's a chocolate habanero stout," yet I'm not getting any of the spice. I am getting the subtlest hint of spice on the back end, and that is it. Doesn't matter. I mean, we started with this beer and it was a little colder. It's now warmed up. The flavor's not coming out for me, and although I'm really enjoying it, it's not really fitting the style that it's claiming to be. So that's my take on it. What do you guys think?
I'll just echo what you said. It's a good chocolate stout. It's not a good pepper beer, simply because it's not a pepper beer. I'm not getting any inkling on it that it's a pepper beer. Maybe if I kind of force it a little bit, I can kind of get a little bit of it, but I'm not finding it. Is it a good beer? Yes. Period. Would I drink it again? Yes. That's it.
Are you wondering if that little tingling in the back of your throat is excess carbonation or pepper? Because I kind of am. Now that you said that, I'm kind of second guessing myself. Maybe I didn't taste any.
Maybe, I don't. Regardless, it's not enough to be definitive to say, okay, there's the habanero.
Yeah.
Right there. And that in and of itself, the fact that you have to question it says it all right there.
Valid point. Steve, what about you?
Yeah, it's an echo chamber up in here. I will say,
Up from the 36 echo chambers. Hopefully we don't get sued.
Wu-Tang. This is in no way as spicy as the Habanero Sculpin.
No.
I mean, I feel like, and that's part of the problem with a lot of these pepper beers is that you put the name forward and you say what pepper's in there in your title. It had better be at least as spicy as the next one.
It should have some cachet to
Absolutely.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, like if it's if this says Habanero and Habanero Sculpin is out there, this should be as hot as the Habanero Sculpin.
Even if it's in the ballpark, it doesn't have to be as hot. It
Right.
needs to be
Yeah.
nearby.
Yeah.
Because this is a stout and it's brewed with chocolate as well. So
Yeah. Right.
naturally
So,
the ingredients
yeah, so
might cool it a little bit
Yeah.
or balance the flavors a little more.
Yeah, that thickness is something that you could forgive. That, expect maybe it'll be a little cooler, a little dessertier. But this is barely like tipping the scales at all.
Yeah.
Like I got a little bit as it warmed up, but
When you have to go find it,
yeah,
no.
it barely gets as hot as like a Mexican chocolate chili beer.
Maybe, yeah.
Hint, hint, as to what might be coming up in segment 3. But it just doesn't do it for me the way I want it to.
No.
I like it though. I still like it as a beer.
That's the problem. It's just a good beer.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm like breaking up with it in a way. It's like I like you as a friend, but
We can go get ice cream still.
yeah, it's a good beer, but it just doesn't deliver on the pepper the way I wanted it to.
Right.
All right. Well, 2 down. And that was kind of sad. Like, that was a sad ending to the segment because I started us up with talking about how spicy our life is, and that really fit the theme of the day. We were, really, really excited to have the Spice Girls coming on for segment 3, but now we've all been taking it down a notch, and they've left. They're not even here anymore.
It's just like the end of Empire Strikes Back.
So
There was no happy ending.
There was no
Yeah.
happy ending in
Yeah.
episode 5.
And, now that the Spice Girls are not going to be our special guests for segment 3, and the audience is just stuck with the 3 of us again, we're really going to have to turn it up with this last beer.
Bummer.
So I am really hoping that when we get back from this break, we are going to have something that is going to just really, really spice up our lives. So stay tuned, everybody. We're going to drink that right when we come back, and we'll see what happens. Stay tuned. Welcome back, Hop Nation. I don't know about you, but I am feeling hot.
Hot,
Which
hot
is
heat.
which is different because normally I just look hot.
Ugh, God.
Wow.
Right? That's
Okay.
good.
All right.
Hey,
All right.
That's what people that see the Instagram account say.
What?
Or at least I just think that's what they're saying. They don't actually comment and say that, but I like to think that they are.
Maybe they're so blown away by your good looks that they can't even fathom how to send a message.
They just can't
Or
even
comment.
bring the words.
Like, oh my god, I can't even deal with this right now. I have to defriend them and move on to somebody else who's just less attractive.
Okay.
Man.
All right.
I don't know, that took an interesting turn. See, that's what happens when you just improv on this show. You never know what you're gonna say.
Take a left off the Beer Avenue and down to Ego Street.
I guess
Population Sam.
I guess so, yeah. I think I'm the only one living on Ego Street these days. Nobody else is here with me. It's very lonely. But, when I'm sitting on my ass, living alone on Ego Street, there's one thing I like to do, and that's drink some really hot beers. All right? So, I've already had 2. Well, actually, I don't just like to drink hot beers, but I also like to drink hot beers and listen to the Spice Girls. So, reminding everybody of the theme today, we're talking about our favorite girl group from the 90s, the Spice Girls, and collectively, all 3 of us truly enjoyed them back in the day, especially Steve. But the more important thing is that we have one more beer to get to today, and that's really going to spice up our life. And we'll see how it compares against the Flying Dog Chocolate Habanero Stout and the Chili Green Tommyknocker beer. So, Steve, why don't you introduce this last beer that we're going to be drinking today?
The third beer of the night to spice up our life is the Weyerbacher Sunday Mole Stout. And this is an imperial stout brewed with coffee, cocoa, cinnamon, and peppers. So we're going to get a little twofer on the spice because you're getting the cinnamon and the peppers.
Right on.
Okay.
Now this is coming in at a 11.3 ABV, so it's also a big boy hitter.
That is a big boy. I should have eaten dinner before we recorded this
yeah, you
podcast.
definitely
I
should
might
have.
be in trouble here for segment 3, so
Said I got snack bars if you need.
ration out my pour appropriately, knowing that.
Holy cow! I'm looking at that pour, and holy cow!
It's a chocolate syrup.
Yeah, I was going to say, that looks like motor oil.
It's got Bosco in the bottle.
Wow.
The peppers being used in this are the ancho and the chipotle and a couple other ones. Nothing too hot.
Thank you.
Now, I have to say, as someone who has brewed with chipotle peppers before, as well as had other breweries that have produced beers that are made with chipotles, that is one of my all-time favorite peppers. It provides so much flavor to a beer, so I'm very excited to try this.
Yeah.
I think the appropriate word for this is blurple.
Blurple? Okay. Black purple, yes.
Yeah, it's just blurple.
That's fair.
I'm gonna agree with that.
Not a lot of carbonation.
No, hardly any carbonation on this.
Can't see through this one at all.
No.
The nose is very interesting.
The nose is boozy, but with a lot of other things going on there.
Yeah, I'm almost to the point where it's kind of a Three Stooges smell, where everything's trying to get through the door at once and then nothing happens.
Hello.
I was going to say this is like sticking your nose into a bag of Sour Patch Kids and taking a whiff because there's so many different flavors in there. Plus you're getting a sourness, which could be comparable to the booze that you just, I don't know. I don't know what to think. Makes me excited though.
I'm thinking I smell a lot of, I smell a bit of the coffee.
Yeah.
And I smell a bit of the chocolate. I don't smell any pepper.
Nor do I, but that doesn't mean that taste and flavor won't be there.
Right. Sam, do you smell any peppers?
I do not.
Okay.
Smell a lot of chocolate, a lot of coffee, a lot of booze. No peppers.
Okay.
Let's see what
But
happens.
let's see if we taste any.
I like that.
It tastes blurple.
It tastes blurple.
One thing I'll say is it has a lot going for it.
It's got a lot going on, too.
Yeah, like it's one of those beers that you taste, and you can taste a lot, but you really need to think about it and think about, hey, what flavors did I just get out of this? Because they all hit me at the exact same time. And what's interesting is I feel like I was at least hit with 3 to 4 flavors right up front on the front of my tongue.
Yeah, me as well. It's a very complex beer. And I think
Yes.
I think that complexity is maybe not, it's definitely not helped by the booziness.
It is not. No, the booziness kind of takes an overriding.
I would say just as far as discerning what flavors you're getting. The booziness hurts you. on
Yes,
that.
yes. The booziness is not subtle whatsoever.
No, it's not. You definitely taste that.
But I mean, it's what, 11 point holy dog shit? So
Yeah.
that's to be expected.
I'm definitely getting some of the coffee notes though.
On the chili side of things, I'm not really getting much there.
I'm not getting much. I can taste it a little bit. I'm not tasting any cinnamon.
No.
No.
Well, let's continue on this,
Yeah.
and let's see what happens throughout this segment.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah,
We'll see
very
where things
interesting
go.
beer.
Very interesting though.
Yeah,
I like it. I like it overall.
that's the problem I'm having with these beers.
You like them?
They're just all good beers.
Yeah, they're good beers.
But
It's
you
just
kind of have to silo things a little bit.
are they doing the pepper job that they're supposed to?
Right.
And this one isn't necessarily putting itself out as a pepper beer. Like it doesn't have habanero on the on the cover.
Right.
But it does say there's peppers in it. So
So what have we got going on, Steve?
this week we are actually going to play Beer Fight. A segment that you actually haven't been a part of yet.
Oh, that's right, you haven't.
Yes. So
Oh, you're in for a good time.
For good reason, probably.
we finally nailed down Sam so we can play Beer
That's
Fight.
right.
So just to remind the audience what Beer Fight is we're going to take 2 different beers and we're going to take their personifications of the beers and have a little debate.
Step into the Thunderdome.
Yeah, see which one would survive in the Thunderdome.
I'm going to pick Conor McGregor.
Conor McGregor is not a beer.
It could be.
I've seen video.
Ghostface Killa is, so.
Ghostface Killer is a beer. And he maybe would have been a good one for the segment, but we're not going to use him either.
So perhaps an example would be
A simple example would be a golden monkey versus a dirt wolf.
So what is our first beer fight of the night? What is the undercard?
So the undercard of tonight is one we already talked about, the Ghost Scorpion
Okay.
versus Elysian's Night Owl. And the theme I'm going with is pepper beers versus pumpkin beers.
Ah, okay.
Yes.
All right.
So we have the Elevator Ghost Scorpion versus the Elysian Night Owl, which is a pumpkin beer.
That's
Very
a good
one.
question.
Yeah.
Well, I'd have to go with the Scorpion.
Okay.
Simply because I'm pretty sure that whenever a night owl would try to eat the scorpion, the stinger would immediately come out, hit the owl would drop the scorpion would be able to run away, and it would win just by continuing on living.
But it's a ghost scorpion.
Oh, it's a ghost scorpion.
It wouldn't continue on living.
Oh, so you can't kill what's already dead.
That's right.
So, duh, that's a no-brainer.
Yeah, Night Owl wins.
What?
Night Owl wins. It's alive.
No, you can't kill what's already dead.
Tim?
Am I the tiebreaker in this
Obviously.
nonsense?
Obviously.
Oh boy, let me decide. All right, so we have a scorpion that's not even alive
Correct.
versus an owl who can see in the dark and can literally lift a tree out of the ground and use it to smash a ghost scorpion, whether it's alive or dead.
Wait,
I'm gonna go with the owl, because what it's going to do is it's going to literally drop a massive tree on the scorpion, crushing the scorpion, whether it's alive or dead, and win this fight. And it's gonna just fly off into the moon.
Where did this tree come from?
It's in the forest with the owls, dude. There's owls and trees out there.
You asked the wrong question. Where did the owl get the power to lift the tree?
From the moon. It was sent a signal from the space aliens that were living on the moon to give this owl super strength to lift a tree, smash the ghost pepper, and free all of those aliens from the moon so they could turn back into monkeys and return to Earth.
What?
I feel like Sam might not be taking this segment seriously.
No, I feel kind of bad.
You're right. It wasn't monkeys. It was just general dogs.
General dogs.
General dog. Sergeant Cat.
Standard attention, General Dogs is on the board.
All right, it was real humans.
What's
that were
the next
cap-
one?
that were
Maybe we should try to move on.
Yeah.
You didn't like my explanation?
I
Come
just
on,
don't
it made
understand.
it made a lot of sense.
I just don't understand where the owl got the powers from.
So many
I
questions.
told you, from the aliens on the
I didn't
moon.
get it. So many questions. Like, what is our next
Okay,
fight
hold
the
on a
undercard?
second. Back up 1 second before
Okay.
we move on.
All right.
Have you ever seen the show, speaking of 90s nostalgia, the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers? You know how Rita Repulsa used to send down monsters to Earth literally from the moon?
The putties?
Okay.
No, not the putties, the monsters.
Also the putties, but yeah, the monsters.
Yeah.
Well, the putties weren't super strong. The
they
monsters
still
were,
got sent.
the real bad guys. So this was essentially, when I say space aliens, I was talking about Rita Repulsa, her minions like Goldar and even Lord Zed, right? So therefore, instead of sending a monster down, she just gave one of the owls super strength to crush the ghost scorpion, who actually, when you find out, when you actually look into it, was the Green Ranger. It was Tommy.
I feel like maybe I should smoke more weed or
Yeah.
less weed. I don't know.
This is definitely a tipping point.
Guys, this is a great game. What's the next one?
For the love of all that is holy and decent, what is the next one?
Very simply, I'm going to go with the Space Ghost, which is brewed from Central Waters. Mm-hmm. It is a imperial stout made with ghost peppers.
Oh, all right.
Or the UFO Harpoon Pumpkin.
Oh, so do we have to worry about the UFO? Do we have to worry about the harpoon?
Well, you have to think about the cartoon Space Ghost.
That's what Coast to Coast.
Coast to Coast. Yeah. Well, before it was Space Ghost Coast to Coast, it was just Space Ghost.
Right.
And he was fighting aliens.
True, but in my formidable years, it was Space Ghost Coast to Coast.
Right.
Yeah.
So would Space Ghost fare better against a UFO pumpkin?
Ooh, I don't know.
Or would a UFO pumpkin fare better against Space Ghost?
So you are drawing the line in the sand that this is Space Ghost from the original Hanna-Barbera series, not Space Ghost Coast to Coast from the
it could be
Adult Swim.
it could be coast to coast. Yeah.
See, this is pertinent information.
It's the same guy though.
Okay. So I think I'm gonna have to go with I gotta go with Space Ghost.
Yeah, it's an easy
Yeah.
one. Yeah, Space Ghost. It's a pumpkin.
Yeah.
It's a
Who
UFO.
gives a dog shit about a pumpkin?
Right, it's a UFO made out of a pumpkin.
Yeah,
you can punch a hole. You could punch a hole
I
in
know.
that. You don't have superpowers, and you could punch a hole in that.
That was easy.
Now hold on a second.
Oh boy.
Is this UFO pumpkin, has it been reinforced, the walls of the pumpkin with any
Nope.
steel or armor of some sort? And who's controlling this pumpkin, right? So we got to think about that as well. I mean, is Rita Repulsa and Lord Zed in the pumpkin, or have we switched, children's TV shows, and instead of the Power Rangers, now we're on to the big bad Beetleborgs or VR Troopers? Who's in this pumpkin? We don't know. It's somebody from the 90s, we know that.
I only vaguely remember those
Yeah,
other two.
you're going deep into the well here.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know who's in that pumpkin. That's the problem. Like, that pumpkin is almost impenetrable to light, which means we can't see in it. So to understand who's controlling this pumpkin in this fight against Space Ghost, we need to we need to get up in that pumpkin. We need to go right up in the hole. We needed to abduct us so we can see who's controlling it. We don't know.
I've got the answer. It's more weed. It's definitely more weed.
More weed is the answer?
That is the answer.
Definitely need more weed in my life then. Okay.
Oh, man.
Well, that'll bring us to our final fight of the night, and I think it's a big one. It's the Sierra Nevada Hellraiser, which is a chocolate chili,
Okay.
versus the Shipyard Pumpkinhead. And this essentially just comes down to which movie franchise is worse.
Yep.
Well, a pumpkin head. Are you talking about Trick or Treat?
No. I'm not talking about the little kid who's also named Sam in Trick or Treat. No, I'm talking about Pumpkinhead back from the 80s that was starring Lance Hendrickson. It was about his... you never saw these movies?
Wasn't that just an old takeoff of Ichabod Crane?
No.
Okay, because that was the direction I was going, was just Ichabod Crane.
No.
And the Headless Horseman? And he
No,
had a pumpkin?
that would be Sleepy Hollow. No, I'm talking horror movie franchises.
Okay,
God
well,
damn
apparently
it.
that was so bad that I didn't even see it.
No, Pumpkinhead starred Lance Hendrickson, and it was more or less a ripoff of Friday the 13th, in which his disabled son was killed and thrown down a well by some bullies, and then it came back as this giant, disgusting monster.
Okay, all right, so
Yeah.
basically just land Moby Dick.
What? No! God damn you! God damn both of you!
That's what I'm getting out of this entire exchange. This is land Moby Dick.
It's not Land Moby Dick. What's the matter with you?
All sorts of things.
It's the Hellraiser films, which are shit, and the Pumpkinhead films, which are shit.
Well, see, I've actually heard of the Hellraiser films.
Okay.
So that's where I gotta go.
Okay.
Because it isn't the main villain Pinhead in those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
right.
that's what I gotta go with.
Okay.
Because I've actually heard of those.
Okay, you've heard of those.
Yeah, so by default, Hellraiser wins.
I think there's like 4 Pumpkinhead movies. How have you never accidentally stumbled on?
How many Leprechaun movies are there? I've never watched any of
Probably
them.
like 8.
I've never watched them.
Yeah, a lot of those. Jennifer Aniston was in one of them.
Jaws,
The
I never
first
made
one.
it past 2.
Okay, but you still know that there's 4. And you still know that they exist.
Well, didn't they get up to like 33 according to Back to the Future 2?
Yeah, that's not true. That's not real life either.
All right, now let me say a few things about this fight. If I'm going to accurately assess this, I would actually prefer the Pumpkinhead from Shipyard to be the winner. And when I say prefer that, that means I know that he is going to win. And here's why. Because Pinhead is just one guy, right? And he's an asshole. He was in a series of shitty movies. But the Shipyard Pumpkinhead, he has his main man, Johnny Rails, waiting in the background, right? So I'm thinking of this as more like a Marvel versus Capcom video game where you're mashing the buttons and all of a sudden one player disappears and the other one comes in. Pumpkinhead's got a series of buddies that are going to help him to win this fight. So as soon as he's out, Johnny Rails is coming in. And then before you know it, you know who's coming next? The mother effing Pum King from Southern Tier. You know who's next? The Warlock. He's got a whole tribe of pumpkins. They're coming in. They're raining fury and pumpkin seeds and all that grotesque innards from a pumpkin down on Pinhead, and it's just sticking to his pins, and it is covering his eyes, and he can't see shit. And eventually they're just gonna boot him right out of the arena, and he's going to lose.
Pinhead actually does have a group of other demons with him called the Cenobites. There was a guy that had like a CD changer in his face. And there's a woman with no eyes.
CD changer, nice, from the 90s. I like the nostalgia of this episode.
It's more weed. It's definitely more weed.
It's up to DMT at this point.
Well, I mean, this is the segment you wanted to talk about, so you got to understand. I mean, we're creating an army of pumpkin heads now that
we
are going to rain down on all the craft breweries of the world. We are summoning the kings.
Yeah, just pour me more beer. This is going to take a while. Just fill me back up.
Oh, man. I tell you what, I like this segment, guys. This is, at first I was a little skeptical. I wasn't sure how this was going to go. I've never participated in this, little game before, but I really like it. It creates some great bar banter.
Since Sam has definitely played in the space.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy.
I will say that. Sam has played in the space.
Yes. So let's kind of wrangle all of that back in.
Improv classes coming soon.
Let's talk about this beer.
This whole friggin' episode has been improv for me. Come on. I've literally been talking almost the entire show. It's great. I mean, we should do more of this.
We'll show up more often.
Yeah, that's right. I guess
don't bitch at us.
You can come next week.
Yes. I will see everybody in about 3 months.
So there's Weyerbacher, whatever who's it, Sunday Mole Crunch?
Sunday Mole Stout.
Stout, not
Stout,
Crunch.
Not Crunch. No cereal in this beer.
By Weyerbacher. And they're a Pennsylvania brewery, aren't they?
Yes, they are.
Out of Eastern PA somewhere.
Yeah, they're coming. I think it's actually Easton.
Oh, Easton. All right. Also, the home of Crayola Crayon.
Up there in the Poconos.
There in the Poconos, up in the high mountains.
Yeah, clocks in at 11.3%.
Yeah. So, Steve, you brought this one to the table. You get first crack at it. What do you think?
Well, I think we're in another situation of it's a good beer, but it's not a great pepper beer. But I'm going to put my own caveat, as Sam did last segment. I'm going to put my caveat on saying maybe this isn't supposed to be the pepper beer. It's not necessarily marketed
True.
as a pepper beer.
Although
it's a beer that happens to have peppers in it.
Right. It's a beer, like, peppers are part of a mole recipe. Mm-hmm. Then you take mole and make that part of a beer recipe.
I get that.
That's kind of like a second generation dilution.
Yeah.
Whereas other beers that say the pepper name on the front, they're trying to be that pepper.
And this is not that pepper beer.
No. I think this one might fall a little short as being a pepper beer, but as being just a beer.
It's just a good beer.
It's a really good beer.
Yeah.
Adam?
For me, I don't have anything else to add. And Steve had it spot on. Good beer, not a good pepper beer. May not have been the point of the beer. And that's okay, because it's still a good beer. Bottom line, good beer. I would have more than one. If I were to do that, I would definitely make sure I was at home, comfortable on the couch.
Yeah.
And nowhere near a set of keys.
Yeah, this is
This
definitely
is the big guy.
This is the big one.
This is definitely a home, comfy on the couch beer.
Yes.
This is a winter time. Shut myself in with some hot chocolate and
cabin
some
in the
mole.
woods. This is a cabin in the woods beer.
Yeah.
Yep. Sam?
Cabin in the Woods. Now, I like that movie, and that wasn't from the 90s.
No, it wasn't.
It was not.
Yeah, so I really don't have much to add outside of what you guys already said. This has a very big, expansive flavor profile, and it's a good beer. Is it a good pepper beer? Absolutely not, but that doesn't make it bad, right? I mean, I can't taste the pepper in it. I'm getting some coffee, I'm getting some cocoa, I'm getting a couple hints of cinnamon, and I'm getting a lot of booziness, which I'm not complaining about any of those, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really fit the pepper beer style, but like the last one, it's still a great beer.
Right.
I would never turn one down. I'm really enjoying drinking it now. So, yeah, it's It's good stuff.
All right.
That's all I have to say about that.
All right. So I think with that, I think it's time to go to the podium.
And remember, doing the podium this time, don't forget to pair the beers that we had with your favorite Spice Girl.
Oh,
that's right.
So that means I'm gonna have to remember at least 3 Spice Girls.
That's right.
So you
should
have
be able.
Scary Spice, Posh Spice, Baby Spice, Ginger Spice, Sporty Spice are the 5.
You just popped that right off the top of your head, didn't
How do you not know it? It's Mel B, Mel C, Emma, and Jerry. And
Victoria Beckham, the most popular one.
I couldn't remember her fucking damn name. Damn it.
Okay. Wow. Wow. You guys were way more into this than I was.
How are you not?
Come on, dude. It was the Spice Girls. They were like the hottest thing in the world back in the 90s. I mean, what were you when they came out? Like 10? Every guy had a crush on the Spice Girls, or at least one of them. Maybe not all of
You
them.
never sat around with a tiger beat squeezing your hog.
That takes me back. Gross. So I guess, Steve, I guess it's up to you to bring it to the podium with your favorite Spice Girl, I guess.
I'm going to... Damn it.
It's kind of tough, isn't it?
It is tough because I want to put it as an appropriate pepper beer, but also, that's the way I'm going to go.
You're going to go with pepper beers rather than beers.
I'm just going to go appropriateness for pepper beer.
Okay.
I will say the caveat that I enjoyed the Sunday Mole Stout the most tonight as beer overall.
Can you just throw out a real quick 1, 2, 3 on beers overall? Just a real quick 1, 2, 3.
I would say it'd be Sunday Mole Stout as the top beer, and then the chocolate habanero as second, and then the
Tommyknocker green chili
third.
Lager.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
With that said, they're all really good beers. As far as pepper beers go, I'm gonna put the Weyerbacher Sunday Mole Stout as the bronze.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a really good beer, but it's just there's so much going on with it. It's so complex, and like I said, I think it's like a second generation delineation at this point when you make a mole recipe and then put it into a beer recipe. I didn't really taste any cinnamon in there, and the peppers are really, really hard to pick out over the coffee, the chocolate, and the booze. That goes with the bronze, and I'm gonna call this one Posh Spice. Because she never really seemed to fit in with the rest of the Spice Girls. She always seemed like she wanted to be part of something bigger.
And she did eventually.
And then, eventually she married David Beckham and got away from the Spice Girls.
And then she started designing Land Rovers.
Right, I guess?
Yeah.
Is that what she does?
Well, there is a particular model. Actually, I should take that back.
How the hell do you know this?
What? You don't
I
know
thought
these
she was
things?
in the fashion world.
Yeah, she is, but as part of her fashion cachet, she helped to do interior design for some Land Rovers.
Okay, weird.
Yeah, that is interesting.
There you go.
Yeah, good for her.
Okay, anyway, the silver is going to be the Flying Dog Chocolate Habanero Stout. I like that beer. Again, I like that beer as a beer. The pepper was more prevalent than the Sunday Mole Stout, but it just wasn't prevalent enough to put it up at top because it didn't have enough habanero. Like I already said before, if you're gonna say you're a habanero beer, you better be kind of hot.
You got to bring it.
Yeah, and they just didn't bring it. So yeah, that's gonna be the silver. Still a good beer though. Still would drink a bunch of it. And that beer I'm going to call Baby Spice.
Okay.
Because she was a little bit thick.
Was she?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that beer was thick as well. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So I guess that leads us to the gold medal position.
Right. Gold medal position is going to be the Tommyknocker Green Chili. I think it's a perfect representation of a chili beer. It's not too hot, it's not too spicy. I think everybody can enjoy this. It still tastes like beer, very much. Like it has that malty lager flavor about it, but it also has that fresh chili flavor to it. And I think it's a really excellent beer for everybody to enjoy. And I'm also going to call it Ginger Spice, because ginger was everybody's favorite.
I mean, you're not wrong.
Right.
You're not wrong.
Yeah, she was the best one, and this is the best one. So that's Ginger Spice.
Okay.
Sam?
Ginger Spice. All right, this is an interesting podium because I have to say I was, in terms of the beer theme today was Spice Up Your Life. I think it would be more appropriate to have our beer theme, at least for me, be Spice Down Your Life.
I don't get it.
All right, so here's my ranking here, and I want to just preface it by saying that I was slightly disappointed with our beer choices today. Not that I didn't enjoy any of them, but in terms of spiciness, I was really looking for that knock your socks off hot beer, and I was hoping we had something a little bit spicier. But at the end of the day, really enjoyed these beers, so I'm gonna rank them as such. So in third place today for me, I am going with the Flying Dog Chocolate Habanero Stout. I like this beer, but there was no spiciness in it. It didn't have the pepper flavor that I was looking for, and it didn't really have pepper flavor at all. So with that, it's gonna get the bronze for me. I like the flavor, but I wanted something more. And I would probably associate this beer with Sporty Spice. Because at the end of the day, whether she was associated with the rest of the group or not, nobody really cared. She was there. She sang some notes. She wore her track pants that were really cool in the 90s. But at the end of the day, I don't know. Would you really miss Sporty Spice if she wasn't part of the Spice Girls? Probably not.
Okay, then.
All right.
In second place for me, I'm going to have to give the silver medal to the Sunday Moly Stout by Weyerbacher. And, once again, this was a good beer. It had a very complex flavor profile. It had a great coffee flavor, great chocolate. It was big, it was boozy, it was incredibly enjoyable. But once again, similar to the chocolate habanero stout, it just didn't have a lot of pepper flavor. I enjoyed it more than the habanero stout, but I was hoping for a little bit more spice on the back end, a spice that kind of lingered in the back of my throat, and I didn't get that, unfortunately, with this beer. So, that being said, this beer is going to get the silver medal. And if I'm going to have to associate that with a Spice Girl, I would probably associate this one, like Steve said, with Posh Spice, because this beer's flavor profile was a bit obnoxious, and I always thought Posh Spice was a bit obnoxious, because she was kind of out there. She was, prissy. It seemed like it was all about her.
Well, that's in the name, posh.
Exactly. She was very posh. So I guess she really lived up to those expectations as a Spice Girl. But at the end of the day, she had a lot going for her. She was the biggest. Everybody loved her, like Steve said. And to me, that was a bit obnoxious. But at the end of the day, it's still good. Not a bad thing. Now, that means that the gold medal is going to go to the Tommyknocker Green Chili Beer. That was a good beer. In terms of spiciness, it had the most spice. It had the most pepper flavor. It was a very solid lager. Would I like it to be a little bit hotter? Sure. But at the end of the day, as Steve mentioned, it's an easy drinking, enjoyable gateway beer for folks that are looking to try a pepper beer and not be completely overwhelmed by the flavor. It gives you a little taste of what many of the pepper beers out there are like, and it's incredibly drinkable. You can order this beer at the bar, and you don't have to worry about not being able to finish it because it's too hot for you. It's something that you're gonna be able to drink, enjoy, appreciate, and then decide if you want another one. So my last Spice Girl association is going to be to pair this beer with Mel B Scary Spice. And why I'm choosing Mel B is that she was popular in the 90s with the Spice Girls. And she's still very prevalent today in pop culture because she's a judge on America's Got Talent, which is a very popular talent competition that everybody knows about. Yeah, she's a judge on that show.
Oh, not everybody knew about it then.
She loves to argue with Simon Cowell and Howie Mandel, which makes for great, great TV. So, like Mel B, she always seems to be relevant. She's always there. She's always entertaining. And I feel like that's relatable to the Tommyknocker Green Chili Beer because I don't see it going anywhere. It's a staple. It's a gateway beer. It's going to be around. It's never going to really knock your socks off. But at the end of the day, you're going to be satisfied with it. Like you're satisfied with LB as a judge on America's Got Talent. She provides great commentary and great assessment of the talent on that show. So that's that. Last but not least, Adam, what's your final assessment of these beers and which Spice Girl are you associating them with?
Well, I have to use Steve's system of I have to differentiate between what I consider to be good beers versus what are good chili beers here tonight. Now, in the bronze position or the Scary Spice position, that would have to go to the Weyerbacher, the Sunday Mole Stout. It is big. It is a big beer. There are big flavors here. Not unlike Scary Spice's hair, which, if I remember correctly, was huge.
Yes,
You remember correctly. It's not huge anymore, but
she did have the biggest hair.
She had the biggest hair, and I believe that is an analog to this beer, where it is a big beer, big flavors, except for one, chili. There was no big spiciness to it. There was no big hot heat, anything like that. It just wasn't there. All the other flavors were there in a big way. And honestly, in some ways, it was almost too big. Like I had mentioned earlier, it was kind of a Three Stooges situation where there's all sorts of flavors trying to hit you at once, but then it just doesn't really work. I kind of got a little bit of that. So for that puts the Weyerbacher in the third place or Scary Spice position. Coming to the next place on the podium, the silver. Things get a little more difficult, but I got to go with the Flying Dog. I got to go with the chocolate habanero stout. It did have at least a little bit of the chili flavor to it. You could kind of find it. Yes, it was a good beer. You kind of had to find the chili flavor a little bit. It just wasn't enough to get to the first place position. Now, how would I associate this with a Spice Girl? I have no idea. I'll go with Baby Spice because it was underwhelming where it should have been overwhelming. It was just okay, meh, in the chili department because it wasn't really there. It did nothing for me. And
I hope
honestly,
Emma Button is not listening to this episode. All right. She would be wildly offended by that statement.
Guess what? Baby Spice, back in the day, you didn't do anything for me. I'm sorry.
Even with the pigtails?
Especially with the pigtails.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it just wasn't my jam at the time. I'm sorry.
Fair enough.
You know what? I'm not sorry. I apologize for nothing. I apologize for nothing.
All right.
Baby Spice is probably just happy you're mentioning her game on this
That
podcast.
is true.
Maybe she'll come back into relevancy.
Jesus.
That brings us to our gold medal position, our Tommyknocker, the green chili lager. As previously mentioned, this is a fantastic gateway beer if anybody wants to get into the chili beer game. It's good, it's not overpowering, but it is at least there. There is actually a chili taste there. You don't have to go find it or kind of hope that you found it. There's no big, bold claim that this is a super spicy beer. They say right up front, hey, you know what? This is a chili beer, but it's not a punch-you-in-the-mouth beer. So they delivered, and I like that. Who am I associating with that beer? Steve already said it. It's Ginger Spice. Everybody loves Ginger Spice. She's the best.
Everybody loves Ginger Spice, yo.
She was the best. She is the best. Therefore, the Tommyknocker is the best.
She was the first one to quit the group.
She knew what she was doing.
She knew what was up.
Yeah.
She went and had that solo career.
Yeah, it was wildly unsuccessful.
But it was better than the other solo careers.
Boom.
So before we sign off for today, Steve, you want to tell everybody how they can get in contact with us on all of our social medias?
All right, so we're on the Twitter and the Facebook and the Instagram, and you just have to search Hop Nation USA to get to there. And you can find brand new episodes of the Hop Nation USA podcast every Friday on iTunes and Stitcher and Podbean and Google Music Play if anybody plays off their Android. Surprisingly, not a lot of people do, but some people do.
I can do that if you want me to.
Please don't.
The option is out there, so that's great for people to do that.
Please don't play our show while we're doing our show.
Hop Nationception.
But again, you can just search Hop Nation USA and find our show. And if you want to email us your favorite Spice Girl and why she's your favorite, just email us at hopnationusa@gmail.com. I will say maybe it would be best if we come back and do another pepper beer episode not too distant in the future.
Okay.
Because I think we're kind of underwhelmed and we're looking for hot beers.
Yeah. So I think that's something that they should email us.
Yeah. So if you can get us on the jazz of some hot beers.
Yes.
Also,
legitimately hot beers.
Legitimately hot beers that aren't the Habanero Sculpin. Maybe we can get some of those and really have a hot heat episode.
I'm about that business.
Yeah.
We'll think about it. We'll be back at you next week, Hop Nation, with some more fun. So in the meantime, stay spicy. We'll catch you next week.